reboots. All right, there we go. Yeah, sorry about that. That's every time my stupid system reboots, the microphone changes to off of my Yeti, but that should be better. My Yeti should be a little better here. Blue Yeti, right? Nice little microphone. I got into these because of Kevin. They just got me on the Twitch side. So that's good looking out, guys. So what happened was I got into teaching. Well, I've been teaching for 18 years now, but we used to have these Blue Yetis in the classroom, and I absolutely freaking love them because if you've got a classroom full of people, so I don't know, was that like a 40 by 40 square foot room? You would have, or for some of you that's like 13 meters by 13 meters, let's say, like that size room. You'd have people sitting all the way in the back, and in my recordings, I would hear them through these microphones. So these microphones have a couple of different settings to hit all the room, but these are fantastic microphones for picking up sound in a room. Zorgal, how's it going? Thanks for that, Kevin. Anytime my system reboots, the microphone switches off. So I checked everything else. I checked that I could get caught over here, so you guys were seeing me talking, but I didn't check that I was actually getting the audio levels on my other screen over here. So good catch, you guys. I appreciate that. Do we have a Discord server? Yeah, over on the YouTube side. Yeah, actually, let me pull this up here. I'll move this up a little bit so you guys can see you talking. But yeah, the Discord is pretty easy to get into on the YouTube side. Well, here, I'll just drop it here. There's our Discord, and then over on the YouTube side, there is the link if you want it. Drop it over there for you guys over on the YouTube, but it's also in the setup, I don't know, description or whatever that's called on the YouTube side of things. I don't know all the YouTube lingo, even though I've been around YouTube for a while. I should know that better. Well, let's get back to what's going on this weekend, right? We've got the typical. I always tell you guys, check the events, man. There's all kinds of events going on. Bash Study Group, that's tomorrow. That's 10 a.m. my time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, and then if you're other parts of the world, you just gotta look at it in your time. Nice thing about it is that'll show up in your local time, so it's kind of cool. I know for some of you that's the middle of the night, but I mean, what can you do when you got people all over the planet, right? Then we've got the Wireshark study sessions. This will be the last one of them. I'm actually going to go over some of that stuff now because I want to clean up the study guide and give like the final version of the study guide out there. Yeah, it's the most Discord of all Discords, and it's actually funny. We loosely play with the term professional, right? No, we are a professional group. I mean, for the most part, we joke around in the server a lot, but the goal is to get you guys into doing this stuff professionally. We want to show you guys. I mean, and I tell people all the time, like engineers, we work hard so that we can turn around and play hard, right? Like we work hard, we use our brains. It's a different type of tired, right? I tell you guys, when I was younger in high school, I worked at a roofing company because my uncle owned a roofing company. I've done construction. I was in the Army infantry, so I've definitely done hard work in my life. But then, like, engineering work is a different type of hard. You come down and you're tired, right? You want to practice your relaxing. So we often joke around in there, and I tell people, you have to be good at blowing off steam, or engineering. We used to talk about having grabbers. You know, that's like a heart attack. You just grab your chest and fall out of your cubicle and die. And I knew 3 different people when I worked at Lockheed Martin for almost 5 years who just had grabbers and fell dead out of their cubicle, and they would just come sweep them up and put somebody else in there the next day, right? It's like engineering will kill you. You just die right in your poop is a technical term. There's all kinds of things. And Kolkus runs the Bash class, so hopefully he's around. He normally lets you guys know if he's not going to make it though, but he runs that. Wireshark study session, that'll be tomorrow as well. And then Sunday they do Linux from scratch. So if you want to go work through that process, there's an online resource that's free called Linux from Scratch that teaches you how to build a Linux kernel, get down in, look at modules and compilers and stuff like that that you might not do coming up through the admin field. So, but it's really useful when you go over and to get into the engineering field, because now you're going to be expected to build these things from scratch. And now, Linux from scratch, by the way, is a little deeper than you'd typically going into the industry. And what I mean by that is, I often talk about in the industry, we just keep servers running, and then we have service contracts with different vendors, and they're going to go dig in on stuff like that. But when you're building stuff and when you're pulling things out to try to make your servers as efficient as possible. There are things that you might have to tune, but compiling a kernel from scratch, probably not something you're going to do outside of a lab in your career unless you're working for a company that does that, right? So there's a lot of stuff there for you guys to think about. Elnager said, love teaching style. Yeah, that's the goal. And actually, I had a question the other day from somebody which was like, hey, can you organize some of this so it's easier? There's a lot of things that are in the Discord, or not in the Discord, they are in the Discord, but on the YouTube side where there's playlists for things where I'm specifically teaching. When it's days like this, when we're just kind of done with the work week and we're hanging out, I am the on-call backup for Noah right now, so I'm technically watching my other system back behind me here for all my other stuff, because I have a different system kind of air gapped off from everything else that I do all my stuff for Noah. Anyways, but at the end of the week, we just kind of hang out, so you're going to see me kind of jump around on topics and stuff, but I do kind of try to show you guys what's going on. We've got a big event coming up in August 8th and 9th. These are free talks from a bunch of people around the industry. I come out and I just talk about engineering. I don't talk Linux or systems or anything like that. I talk just engineering, right, to kind of kick it off. I update this one every year. People tend to enjoy this talk, I think, maybe. And then we got somebody coming in to talk about thinking like an attacker, RHEL security sessions. Actually, Burninator, and I won't tell you guys anything that they don't tell you themselves. He's a major in the Space Force, so he does active missions with that kind of stuff, and specifically offensive stuff. But he comes and talks to you guys about defending and locking down servers, because that's what he does. He's National Guard now, so he does that professionally with. I'll let him tell you, but it's one of the big defense contractors that he does that with, and he mostly works on the secure side of it for that, not the offensive side like he does in the military. And he's pretty frank and open about that stuff. Jared's going to come and talk data analytics. He's been doing that for a long time for a pretty big, multi-billion-dollar web hosting company. Well, they do web sales, so they're a web what do they call them? E-commerce sites. That's what they're called. King Buns is going to run both of the days for just kind of like the late night hangout with people. And he's going to be running, what's it called? Jackbox. I think he was playing with Jackbox games a few weeks ago. So he's going to have that going. He's doing that both days. But anyways, the point is all that stuff's free for you guys to come and hang out and do down the Discord. Again, 5,000 people. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do. All right, so let me get this stuff out of the way. Leith, are we still doing HPC course this year? I have to back off a little bit on the HPC course just because I'm doing that now internally for my company. So my boss came back and said, hey, Scott, will you set up a internal training plan for this? So I put together a thing the other day on stream. So what I want to do, I want to avoid conflict of interest stuff, right? Like if I'm doing stuff professionally, I don't want to also be doing the same stuff like with the same material outside of there. So what I'm going to do with you guys instead is probably like individual pieces of it. I'm trying to show you guys a bunch of the stuff that I can show you, a bunch of other like tutorials and stuff that I found online and worked through and that kind of stuff. That'll be useful. Hey, Baraga, how's it going? If you guys don't know, Baraga is one of my brothers that's also in the field. He mostly does OpenShift and middleware type stuff. Camping during the conference. Oh, Colchis, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But you'll be here tomorrow, right, Colchis? You're running your Bash group and your Linux from scratch, right, this weekend? So, yeah, Baraga, you're mostly doing Kubernetes stuff. Okay, yeah, you're not doing the underlying Linux right now. Okay, good. Colchis, you'll be around. Okay, good. Yeah, and I was just saying, I'm going to do my last of the Wireshark stuff. So I'm going to show some Wireshark stuff tonight because most of us, we've poked around and used, like I've used Wireshark for, well, even back when it was Ethereal and even whatever it was before that. I've been trying to keep just, okay, like being okay at Wireshark. But we spent the last few weeks in that course, just, hanging out on the weekends, getting better at this Wireshark. So there's a WCA course. So let me pull that up. WCA Wireshark objectives right here. And this is the objectives if anybody wants them. And if, let's say, I'll move this up a little bit. Let's say that you thought, hey, I do want to take that certification. That's how you would go start studying for it right here. Whoops, right here. But maybe you're like, I just want to study it and get better. That's what I was looking at, was I just want to study it and learn it a little better. So I took all of this and I dropped it into our notes over here. And then the last few weeks, we've just been meeting and going through everything. So again, if anybody wants that, it's right there. If anybody wants my, this is a doc here, but I have it as a PDF in the meeting notes. So if you go drop down here, you go to meeting notes, there's the most recent one of these. I'm going to be updating this and then probably putting out like a final version here soon. I have a little bit of IPv6 stuff to update. We might be doing that on stream. And then a little bit of, there's some troubleshooting stuff at the end that we haven't gotten to yet. So that's mostly what we're going to be going on for tomorrow. So there's that. Yeah. So yeah, mainly the thing is we just started getting into it, right? And we've just kind of been hanging out. Even one day we just watched videos of other people using Wireshark and that kind of stuff. So, you know, here's the tool. You can capture stuff live. So we could capture my connections now if we wanted to. Oh, and it's funny, it defaults to the wrong, let me turn that off. Yeah, turn that off here. Let's go to capture and let's change our options here, because I don't like the options that are default here. I want to capture my Wi-Fi 2, which is my default. And now here's all our traffic. Here's all our traffic flowing in the network. I can let that go for a few seconds here. We're about 8 seconds right now. We're at about 10 seconds right there. And let's go ahead and stop that, right? So we don't have to let that run all day if we don't want to. But we can come in here and we can start looking at what's going on, what is happening under the hood, even as I'm streaming right now, what's going on with my system. How am I communicating out to send these packets that are leaving my system here and go out? Is it real-time transport protocol? Is it real-time transport control protocol? What's going on inside of my system? How is all this communication happening, right? And this is the kind of things that we can kind of learn from digging in on this tool. So yeah, anyway, so we'll go into that a little bit, mess with that. I'm just going to update some of that stuff here. I'm also going to pull out these dates, because the dates aren't so important to people who come later, right? They're not necessarily interested in when we met. So I'll probably just pull out our meeting times here, because that's less important. But I do think that there's some good information in this. Again, this is available as a PDF if you guys need it. Let me pull this off of here. Dump that down. I think like 3 more days. We did this multiple days. I think it was about 6 weeks we've been going through it now. Tools. Oh, I figured out how to remove these things too. These stupid lines kept getting in my way. I figured out how to remove them. I had to go look on YouTube. I had to go figure out how to remove these. So it's under design. Nope. It's under layout. Nope. I think it's wherever tables are. Now that I got it all squished down, I can't see everything. I think it's under insert and then tables. That's not right. Yeah, I figured it out the other day and now I've forgotten. Basically what you're doing is you're changing the underlines. You're removing the underlines. How's that at? Because it's treating this like a table, even though it's not a table. It was never a table. Oh, it's cool that I got Zotero connector. If you guys have never used Zotero, that's like the best thing for reading research and that kind of stuff. Where the hell is that? It's because I squished it. When you squish it down, you lose all your options. It's kind of hard to see things. I thought it was here under insert. I don't remember. That's too much to remember. But basically, I know how to remove it. I just have to go figure it out again. Let me keep cleaning this stuff up. Those lines were kind of annoying. I'll get rid of them here in a little bit. Notes from 16 May. Yeah, I'm just going to remove all the times. And I added this. This is a drawing that I did years ago as part of the... there's another tool there's another presentation I want to update today. I actually have it sitting over here. And this is a drawing that I did for this a while back for you guys. But it's like, how does the data flow through a system, right? And this right here becomes really, really useful when you're troubleshooting what's going on in a system. You know, what's happening. You know, I can ping a system. So if I can ping it, then it's operating here at the network layer. And we know that's a network layer because in the network layer header, which is right here, if I was to go right here and go look at the IP header, right? So I was to go over here and find, here's my IP header, and here's my source address and my destination address right here. If I can ping between these two addresses, right, then that means that all the way up through layer 3, things are communicating. But if I'm not resolving DNS or something like that, DNS is way up here at the application layer, right? If I'm not resolving DNS, I may still have my network good. The routes may still be happening, but maybe my system over here talking to out doesn't know how to get to a DNS resolver. It doesn't have some default setup. So there's all these things that could be going on inside of the system. This is also up in the Discord, although not my 2026 version. I originally presented this, I think, back in like 2023, and then I've gone over this, but I just keep working through all the different pieces for you guys. But I have a lot of stuff I want to add to this after doing the Wireshark course. So that's actually why I pulled this up, was I was going to be doing some editing in here today. So we might get around to that here. I have it updated for June. I actually just made this presentation from the other one a little while ago. But anyways, I added this over here in the Wireshark stuff about how the data flow between the systems, how the data are going to connect, and how the communication happens, because that becomes really important when you start troubleshooting over here in Wireshark. You know, what's going on? Why am I not getting traffic back from that other host? Now, Wireshark might not be able to tell you that, but you can tell where things are breaking, right? It's the idea I always tell you guys in engineering. The engineering is about an engine, right? And engines always cycle. And if you know where the cycle broke, that's going to help you figure out everything else. So anyways, where were we at? We were here. We were digging into this. This is all, again, up on the Discord if you guys want it. We never recorded any of these, though. So I've had some questions. People said, hey, would you record this? Would you, make this a thing? I might do that. I don't like really doing that, especially around a specific certification test if I haven't went and taken the certification. So, I mean, if I'm going to do that, I'm probably going to just go take the cert and then see how that goes. But anyways, let's keep going here. Keep scrolling down. Clean this stuff up. There's I drew on some of the stuff, like what you're specifically looking at, TCP flags. How do you know if a session's been established? That kind of stuff. Very important. A bunch of information that I added in here. Notes from 30th. Again, the notes, when we took the notes isn't as important. And then, yeah, okay, so that's the end of it. Good. These are the last ones that I didn't do yet, but it's around troubleshooting common issues with protocols. So determine network topology using only information in a packet capture, right? So from this, what can I tell about a network if I have the source address and the destination address? I don't get some of the other information here around, like, I don't have the subnet mask, so I don't know exactly the size of the network right here. But typically, because it's a 192.168, it's typically a /24. But I could probably figure that out by looking at some of the other stuff. So I could probably look at the other traffic that's passing and see what other, network, whatever other devices I see in the network. There's probably a bunch of things here that we can determine with the network topology. Definitely, if I were to go look up our ARP filters, right? So if I come over here, I go look up my ARP filters. Yeah, so if I want to look at all my ARP traffic, oops, we'll pull this out. So here's what's going on in the network, and I might very quickly find out what other IPs are we looking at. I see that I'm all on the 192.168.11, so I might be able to map out the network that way by looking at what ARP requests are going on. So there's there's a lot to this. You can also, here's another way. This is another way. I probably didn't even think about this, but let's go down here. And let's say, I for sure would use ARP filters. Right. Another one could be, you come over here to statistics and you can actually go to all the endpoints. So you can see all the endpoints that are available. Now I got a filter applied, so that's not great. Let's go back here. Let's go statistics and look at all of our endpoints. And this will tell me all of the endpoints via IPv4 that are being talked to inside the system. And I may very quickly, if I filter these like this, I may very quickly go, well, in my internal network, it's it's obvious that I'm looking at a 192.168.11 type network, right? I got all this other traffic that's going on, but that's all outside of my network, right? That kind of stuff. So anyways, yeah, let's go art filters. Let's say statistics, endpoints, you know, and then drop into that. This is endpoints. It'll show you everything that's going on. You could probably, let's see, TCP, UDP. I can see what's all talking internal to my network here. That's all my device talking typically out. TCP connections. And I should be able to probably come over here and filter some more if I wanted to. I can also turn off the limit to display filter or turn it back on. There we go. Yeah, I see a lot of things happening internal to my network. So I see these other devices in here. That's interesting. Yeah, so anyways, the point is I can start to see what's going on. Can I do TCP sequence and acknowledgement number analysis? Yeah, I can go to TCP. I can follow the TCP stream, right? And I can see everything inside of this TCP stream, all of the communication that happened on just this one stream here. And if we captured it high enough, if we captured it early enough, which we might be able to, let's go look at the beginning. We might not have also, but we may. We probably came in on this when it was already connected. We would see that it had done its session establishment. Let's go look to another one. Let's go to one. Do I find one where I actually see the handshake? Nope, that one was already running. Let's keep looking through. Ah, does this one have the... Let's go look at the flags for TCP. So there's always, when we establish a connection... Oh, what's going on over here? I've got... This is what it looks like when we actually go look at that. By the way, it popped up on my other screen. What I was going to show you guys is a TCP is a connection-oriented protocol, right? So it's always SYN, SYN-ACK, ACK, right? It's a three-way handshake. So we can go look at that if that happened while we were here. So typically here, we would see a SYN being set. So this is not the initial. So this must have already been going as well. Let's go look at 3. Here's 3. This was also running. So, and where I'm going with that is down in the TCP segment, we would see that the SYN would be sent as we send our first packet out. Well, at that point it's a segment, right? But it's traveling on a packet, but it's a segment. Then we would see a SYN-ACK as the next one coming back, right, in the flag field. And then we would see an ACK going out, and that's the establishment of the three-way handshake for our system, right? And there's other stuff going on in there too, but that's the main things that we would look at. I don't have it here either. We just did this for 10 seconds on our system, so we might not have it. I could force it though. I could do this. Watch. I can start this over again. Say continue without saving. Let that start running, and I can come over here and go to like prolog.org, and I can establish some connections, right? So this should establish the connections, right? And then now that will be captured as a three-way handshake. So then now I should be able to go in here and do that same thing, right? Go statistics. Sorry, analyze, follow, TCP stream, right? I want a TCP stream, get that out of the way. And then I can look at any one, and let's go see if we can find a handshake on this one. Some of them might have already been running. Yeah, the stream 1 was already running. Stream 2. I don't see a handshake happening. So this was probably running as well. Yep. One of those should be running during this, right? If we wanted to capture the actual handshake. That one's already running. This one, no, that's an acknowledgement. So that's acknowledgement of data, right? That's not a new one. Here we got a SYN. Okay, do we got a SYN, a SYN-ACK? There's a SYN and SYN-ACK. Yeah, so this is the three-way handshake here. So this communication here from my source out to 192.168.11.203 is going to be, there's going to be a SYN for my first send. The response back is a SYN-ACK, right? So there's my ACK set and my SYN set. And then this next one should be an ACK. There we go. So we got to see the three-way handshake there, right? And we knew it worked that way, but we have to see. I tell people all the time, like, there's this old saying in engineering: one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. I mean, I could tell you these things are true, but until we see them, until we actually watch them happen, I don't know what the hell this computer's doing. This is just a magic box doing magic things, right? I don't know what's going on. Wi-Fi say, can you talk TCP duplicate acknowledgements when you have drop packet? Yeah, so TCP will typically, so TCP is operating above. Let's go look here. Let's go back to, I guess I have it here. I don't think I closed that down. Yeah, we'll pull this up. Let's pull it up here so you guys can see it a little bit. This also is in the Discord, but I have a newer version of it that I'm working on right now, but this part hasn't changed any. So this is what Wi-Fi is asking about. So at the transport layer, the protocol data unit that you're dealing with. So these right here are what we call the protocol data or protocol data unit. It doesn't really matter how you say it. But the TCP stuff is all right here, right? So when I click on this, transmission control protocol, I'm looking at this segment of header being applied to data that's coming down the stack to go leave my system and physically go over to the other system, right? All that to say, so in here in the transport layer, you were asking about duplicate acts. So if an acknowledgement comes in, so what happens is when we start sending data back and forth, we get sequence numbers and acknowledgement numbers. And TCP streams have to flow. They have to flow like cars on a train. And you say, what the hell do you mean by that, Scott? What I mean by that is if you ordered all the cars on a train from 1 to 20, and then you drove from one station to another, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not even gonna bet you, I'm just gonna tell you, all of those cars have to be in the same order when they arrive at the other station, or that train got massively effed up in some way. Like, it's not even possible for it to get there out of order, right? Well, since we can't guarantee that in a network, even though we've established a route and we're going one path, what happens then within the transmission control protocol is on this far side, when it's assembling these things, it gets a certain number of packets in, and then it sent, what we call segments at this point, as it's stripping these headers off, and it sends back an acknowledgement for whatever number it got. And when it does that, then the far side goes, okay, I can send the next set of them, right? Well, if you get some kind of duplicate acknowledgement or something like that, if something happens, then TCP is going to have to sort that out. And there's typically like some kind of higher level application that's going to then back up and then resend whatever segments are missing, right? Because on this side, you've got higher layer protocols that are sending data down into the transport layer, and the transport layer is dropping headers on it, right? The headers are right here, and those headers are just setting sequence numbers to everything that's being sent. Then there's what's called a window, and the window is how many, the window shouldn't be, let's see, it's set 255. So, okay, so typically that's how many sequences can be sent, right? Or how many sequence numbers can be additive on the far side before you need to get an acknowledgement back, right? But again, if anything happens, so in that case, like duplicate acknowledgements or something like that, then it would be over on this side, on the sender side, to figure out what happened. And typically, any one acknowledgement coming back means I can go on to the next bit of data that I'm going to send. But I guess if something really went wrong, there would probably have to be some kind of higher data level correction, or you'd probably have some kind of error down here, because TCP can't handle anything more than just send more in the window acknowledgement, send more in the window acknowledgement. If you have something like that happening, one, that's a mess I've never seen in all my years of networking. But if you did have something like that, I mean, I'd think there's something wrong with your paths. I'd think there's something wrong with, I've never even seen duplicate acknowledgements, but it's possible, right? It just means that this side is sending multiple acknowledgements when it probably should only send one. Because at worst, if it sent one and then it wasn't captured on the far side, the worst thing that it would do is just retransmit those ones, because you never got an acknowledgement for them, or you would wait longer, right, causing a little bit of wait time. So that El Nagger, no, I never did the Wireshark series. I wanted people to just come and hang out and work on Saturdays with it. However, when I get it cleaned up a little bit, I would do it on YouTube if people wanted. But that was what I was saying, is like, I don't really like, I don't know how to put this, I don't like teaching things if I haven't taken the test myself, right? Like, I mean, obviously I know the body of knowledge, and I've been teaching networking for 18 years, but it's not that I don't know this stuff. It's just I don't have the certification, so I feel weird teaching to the certification. Same reason I don't teach Red Hat certified administrator, right? RHCSA. I never did that test, right? Never finished that. So I wouldn't feel comfortable teaching that to people. That kind of makes sense. I leave that to the other guys that have picked that up and that kind of stuff. Do I know Red Hat well? Yeah. Have I used it a lot in my career? Yeah, pretty much my whole career, but I just never bothered to get the cert. So, can seen dupes with VoIP back in the day. Yeah, I was gonna say most all of our protocols now for any kind of voice or meetings or those kind of things are typically UDP, so you're not going to get any. Typically with those, you just are launching the data over, and you actually don't get acknowledgments. If you are getting acknowledgments, they're from higher layer protocols like RTP, which is real-time transport protocol, or RTCP, which is real-time transport control protocol. Which, by the way, I should see them here in here. If I were to go, there's real-time messaging. Let's see if we have any RT. I don't think I have. Yeah, this is real-time messaging protocol, but it should be RTP, which is real-time transport protocol. I know it's weird. There's two T's, but only one counts because it's real dash time transport protocol, and that's why it's real time like that. Where's that at? I should have some of those. They're typically on. What is this protocol? I don't even know what that protocol is. I should probably read up a little bit on quick. We're gonna daemon that serves as sort of failover system. Okay. Yeah. I try to answer your question. I mean, I can't guarantee I know any of that stuff, but most of my failover stuff is CoroSync and Pacemaker nowadays. But what do we got here? Yeah. So, anyways, this was what we were working on. I don't even remember. Oh yeah, I was down here. Hold on. Let's pop back here. Kind of all over the place nowadays. So this would be analyze, and then go over to follow. It's right here. Analyze, follow, TCP stream. Right. So TCP stream. Then you can change filter to look at other streams. And by the way, when you're in a TCP filter, this is another thing I think that they want you to know. So let's real quick follow TCP stream real quick. Let's get this out of the way. One of the things that should be happening is our sequence number should be incrementing, right? So we should be sequence numbers incrementing as we go, and we should be able to verify that right here. So sequence number, next sequence number. A lot of these things, whenever you see the square brackets, that is like metadata. That's added data inside of a PCAP-NG file that Wireshark has added for you. So this is the actual data. These pieces of data here are actually in the frame over here, or at this point the segment. But this is just something that's like information that it's telling you that it's learned about the network. So there's that. Basically a kernel routing method, user space routing messages to the kernel space. Okay. What approach do you think I can take? I want to listen, make sure link is up or down, and switch based on priority and availability. Yeah, I don't do a lot with the kernel. Too much on that. I don't. Most of my stuff is the reason I stay out of the kernel, and I've told you guys this, people have been around, is because I don't get to modify the kernels that I work with, right? Like when I build things, it's for stability. But yeah, I mean, there's typically for me, if I'm doing something with the kernel, it's loading or removing modules. So I guess, I mean, are you going to be loading a newer module to deal with the way that your routing is happening? And let's see. You said the daemon that serves as okay. So are you four interfaces? I want the Linux machine Raspberry Pi to cycle through. Okay. Does it have 4 interfaces? My Pis only have 1. Well, they have 1, and then I guess they have a USB. Got a libnl. Okay. So for me, I mean, and this might be oversimplistic, because like I never what you're describing. I never try to fit a problem to a solution, I guess, if that makes sense, or fit a solution to a problem, I guess, if that's what I'm trying to say here. What I might say is is the thing that you're looking to do having 4 up interfaces and then using any of those interfaces to send traffic out? And the reason I ask if that's what you're trying to do is because for me, I would not even do that. I would just round robin the interfaces with a oh, why am I forgetting what that's called right now? That's called when we aggregate up our interfaces. What's that called? Keep wanting to think bridge, but that's not what it is. It's a oh god, what's that called when we just put all 4 of our interfaces into one interface? Somebody's gonna know this. I'm like, damn, why can't I think of it right now? Bond. We just bond the interfaces, right? Anyways, that's what I'm thinking. So where I'm going with that is there may already be something that's work. Now, if you're talking about I want different routes to flow based on something else, that is, like if I have 4 ways to exit the network, I suspect though, if you have 4 interfaces and then you have one network, what we call our default router or one gateway, those 4 interfaces are probably always pointing to that one gateway. So in my mind, that's a bonding situation, right? We bond the interfaces, send all the traffic out. Trunk is, you're right, a trunk for, an LACP if we were doing, link aggregation control protocol, right? But I'm thinking, one would be the main, I do bonding for that. So influential, if it were me, I would look into, something like this. What do you know the version you're using? In Red Hat, it looks like this. It's pretty straightforward to configure a bond. You basically just go define the bond interface, and then you make the other 2. I'm sure they don't call them slaves anymore, but they used to just call them slave interfaces to the bond interface, and then you could have any number of slave interfaces, and you can configure the interfaces to be. And now this is if you're always going to the same network, right? If all 4 of those are just sitting on the same network, bonded interfaces are probably what you're looking for. Now, if you're saying what I was thinking you were saying originally was like, hey Scott, I've got 4 different networks, and those 4 different ways that the system can leave my network change, that is a routing problem. And that is something that I would tell you, well, I would probably put one device out there and have all my devices point at it, and then that thing can do my routing for me. If I can't control, if my network engineers can't handle that, because almost always I'd let that be my network engineer's problem, which I got out of network engineering 20 years ago because I don't love it. Some of you guys know I started out as a network engineer. I got my CCNA. I thought I'd do this forever, and then I was like, you know what? I don't really love this stuff, so I moved over into just doing Linux all the time because I do kind of love the Linux stuff. So, anyways, that would be. Yeah, I honestly, you probably want bonded interfaces, and I'm saying here's the ways that you can run them. They can be balanced, so it always goes out different interfaces. You can have active backup. That's typically if you have at least 2. There's a bunch of them, but yeah. Then there's another one. So that's the Red Hat thing, but interface bonding. There is a pretty good. I remember the wiki. Oh, here's Debian wiki. So if you're using Raspbian or any of those Raspberry Pi stuff, you might want something like this. And then here's all the bonding, the way that we set up an interface. So you create a bond interface and you give it an IP, and then you give it the bond slaves. And then those interfaces have no configurations on them. They're just set up on the network. This is when all 4 of the interfaces are going into the same network pool, but you want them to share one IP, right? You want them treat it all like it's the same. So I'll link this to you. Yeah. And I'm just saying, most of the problems that we run into as engineers, especially 50 years now into, Unix and Linux style systems. Linux has been around just over 30, but I think almost 35 now, 36. But Unix has been around since the 70s. This is probably a problem somebody else has run into. A routing problem would be, and then this would be a different thing. You'd have those 4 interfaces, but then you want to hit a different gateway or go out to 4 different networks, and that would be a different type of problem. Yeah. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on it. But I tell you guys all the time, I've done stuff where I've thought about I need to shuffle all of these logs together and get them all organized and stuff. And then, I'm working on this thing in Perl. This was years ago to organize it all. And then one of the senior engineers comes out and goes, "Don't you mean sort?" And I'm like, mother effer. Because you could take 30 files and just sort them, and it'll just it'll shuffle them together for you. But in my mind, I thought the word shuffle, so I never thought the word sort. So yeah, embarrassing stuff, but it's important to think about how like you don't always know. None of us know everything, right? Like the internet helps a little bit, but you still got to go look this stuff up and figure it out. So anyways, distinguish server performance from slow transfer times, for instance, in HTTP. All right, we'll have to think about this one. Identify high return. RTT is return something time, transfer time or something. So how would we see that, right? Typically, if we pull this off here, see if I have any. I do have some HTTP traffic on here, so I should be able to Control F, look for HTTPS, and we didn't have any that whole time. I'm pretty sure I hit HTTPS at least once. How else would we find it? Well, we definitely did. I'm surprised that we're not seeing any of that here. Yeah, I thought... I wouldn't think we'd see that. We'd see HTTP. We should be able to see then... Okay, we can filter... we should be able to do TCP... Yeah, we try that. So we didn't get any on that. Let's try 443. There we go. Here's our TCP stuff. And UDP doesn't actually matter for that one because UDP doesn't do any TLS, right? You don't do TLS over UDP. But here we go. So here's our application data. Let's see, we're communicating that. It's actually funny. I'm pretty sure that's the Prolog site. I think this was us going to the Prolog site. And then, yeah, information in there. Oh, and surprisingly, hold on. There we go. Hypertext Transfer Protocol. But it's not HTTP. It's just hypertext transfer. That's why I didn't find it when I was looking earlier. I would have to look for hyper. So that'll be my filter in the future if I need the quick find. I'll look for hypertext. But anyways, we should see here in our, there's a RTT is calculated here for us. Where is it at? Should be actually here. And it's again, it's not something that's held in a header. It's something that shows up when you actually go to look at the time here. They might have it way up here. Where's RTT? I don't know if you guys see it. Anytime you see these square brackets, that's information that's added. That's not actually given. That's not actually part of what's being sent. That's what's being interpreted. That's like metadata about the data, right? That's not actually there. So here's our relative sequence number, that kind of stuff. But I'm looking for. Here's timestamps. Again, all this stuff is added in for us to help us out a little bit. I don't see the RT. I might have some information in there. 8023 AD. Okay. 802.1q is definitely our frames, right? Our 802.1q should be the VLAN tagging, right? But I pull all that. Actually, this is something that came up was there were two questions in here that were asked as we were kind of going through all this about why you can't see VLAN information, and then the other one is why can't you see the checksum information, right? Like, so if what I'm telling you isn't false, right? As we're talking through all this stuff, if I'm not lying on this slide right here, well, it's not a slide, but it's an image. There's something that happens, right? Right. There's our 802.1q down there. There's a thing on the data link layer where there's a trailer that's added called a CRC, a cyclic redundancy check, right? But when you look here and you look at the Ethernet frames, you close this all up, right? And you go to Ethernet and you come over here and you say, Scott, there's no footer on there. And down at the bottom of this, there's no footer at the end that has that cyclic redundancy check. And the reason that's not shown, the reason that trailer doesn't get seen by Wireshark and it doesn't get seen by TCP dump either, it's because the hardware strips it off. So it never even makes it to the kernel layer. It's being done between the hardware devices on the frame. So we never capture the trailer that's there, but we know it's there. We would see it if we were to capture this on the, well, we should see it on a network device because the network device should still present it. But the point is we don't see it on end servers when we do TCP dump or Wireshark captures, right? Try 802.1. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we come here and then where was I going? Oh, I was just showing you guys that the trailer doesn't show up, and then the other one is yeah, we don't see the VLAN tagging because VLAN tagging has already been pulled off as well. Hold on, I gotta check. I'm getting phone calls and messages here. What are people messaging me for? I just told one of my brothers to hop on stream because he said he hasn't eaten yet, so we can go run and grab some sandwiches. And I'm like, well, let me know, but also hop on stream because then I'll be able to see it. Because he's just gaming right now, so he's probably hanging out with his buddies. Also, I'm constantly getting calls nowadays for. I tell people all the time, like I don't mind so much like solicitation calls. They're kind of annoying, but whatever. But I'm getting calls from solicitors that then leave messages, like their AI robots are like leaving messages, and I'm like, I mean, can we at least agree that that's a bridge too far? Because like I gotta keep those cleaned out and all that crap, and I just feel like it's not really great. Also, my brother just got a promotion at work. He's a data analytics guy, but he just moved over to some decision manager role, so he's getting a pay raise and stuff. So that's kind of cool. Doing the same type of work, right? Data analytics stuff. So that's kind of cool. He's come and talked to the group quite a few times, actually. Timodius down in the server. Where was that here? Oh, but yeah, there's just, my point is there's things that are stripped off, so you're not going to see them, even though they're happening between the hardware. And then, yeah, I don't know why RTT. We should be able to see. I don't know why we don't see it. Where do I have? Hold on, Control F RTT. That's the question there, but where do I have? Here's the IRTT. It's the time taken in the packet to travel from router, sender, receiver back. It's calculated from the initial SYN and SYN-ACK. So there's no additional buffering from protocols. Okay, is a fixed reference for the rest of the session. So, so if we're getting something slow, we go analyze our TCP. We won't worry about that right now because we're here, but we should be able to see that then. So this is the first one. That's why there's no change here. But now if we follow this one stream, right? So we'll follow just this one stream, and we go down to the end, and now we should see that this is the time since the first frame, and this is 13 seconds later, and that RTT is measured. It's a reference from the initial SYN to SYN-ACK, and then it's the same throughout, so it doesn't change. However, I should be able to see the RTT to ACK. So yeah, we can see how long the time it took for the acknowledgement of the segment was 31.75 milliseconds. So then we can start to see if there's like high outliers and that kind of stuff. So we can come in here and see. Where's that at? We should be able to see if there's any failures there. Oh, where did that go? Sequence active analysis. So we should be able to see that all the way throughout. Yeah. So anytime we find an ACK, right? So we got to look for our ACKs to see this. We'll see the time it took between all of the system information that was sent and the acknowledgement. So I guess for troubleshooting with that, I mean, I guess we can just look for high outliers. Right? I would say something like this for this one. I would say analyze, follow TCP stream like this. Look for ACK and look for right. Identify the effect of low window size. Okay, so a low window size is going to be the TCP stream. Because the lower your window size, the less you can send before you get an acknowledgement back, right? So this all adds overhead to the time of the transmission. Because every time you're waiting for the other side to come back, even if we're talking milliseconds, it's still going to be slowing down. Hey, how's it going, Sonny Chiba? We're just we're talking about this tool called Wireshark right now. I'm kind of just hanging out on a Friday after work, and the wife's out of town, so but she's out of town till tomorrow night. She's at a scrapbook retreat with some of her girlfriends, so they go and they do that kind of stuff. So I can't stomach that stuff. So and I just told my brother to hop on here because he wants to go grab a sandwich somewhere. So that's good. Also, I don't know if you've seen Sonny, but we have let me give a shout out, because if you're not doing anything some days, you should follow.
All right.
Let's see.
Welcome back to Sam.
Let's see if that works right there. I don't know if that'll work. I might have to do this over here. There we go. Boom. That'll actually show up. Maybe I don't know how to do a shout out anymore. Maybe I gotta do the whole thing. All right, whatever. I thought I could do just my. I thought I had that command set up, but apparently I don't. But yeah, you should follow him if you don't. He does some pretty good artwork. He does almost all the art that's up in my house. So, yeah. So there's that. Adverk said, "Will my brother join in?" He won't join for the stream, but he might hop in here and actually talk with us a little bit. So yeah. Yeah, Sony, you should watch him. He's mostly drawn during the day, but he goes on and he draws his art. He does some pretty cool stuff. I think, and his stream's been getting 3 or 4 people now, so I think he'll get close to being like a what's that called? Like a affiliate, which I think is where I am. Been affiliate the whole time I've been streaming, and it's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, so we're just going here, working through stuff. Given a capture, identify potential communication issues for information. Oh, you know what? I think I have. I guess server performance and slow transfer times for instance HTTP. This could be high RTT, because that would be something that could cause a slow transfer time. Slow transfer times, lots of retransmits if we had that kind of stuff. Yeah, Sonny, he's streaming across all platforms. He's using like a restream tool, so he's kind of doing that. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, I hope it works out for him. Some of you guys, so our buddy Sam, he's already a pretty established artist. He was just out at Phoenix Fan Fusion out here. And he did pretty good. He said he had a pretty good weekend and it was packed. He didn't have anybody else out here helping him though. I felt kind of bad because it's like, I guess if you're an artist and you're just hanging out all day, you just got to hang out at your booth all day. but normally like his son will come out or his daughter will come out and kind of go and work with him. Well, Guinness Book of World Records, yeah. Yeah, and then I was gonna say, what else Sam's been doing? His son you might like this, Sonny. His son's gonna be wrestling in college, so that's kind of cool. His son's pretty good wrestler, and we met him through wrestling, so that's kind of how we met Sam. He draws some pretty cool stuff. All my art in my house is done by Sam. So if you guys have seen in our Discord here, let me get out of there. Accidentally opened KeyPass up. Art. Let me see. I don't know what's gonna pop up when we do art, but mainly when I mention art. Let's see if a filter from me. From user pet. If you guys have ever seen any of the art up in my house, it's most of that's all done by Sam. Apparently my filter didn't work, by the way, either. I'm just gonna go look for it because I'm lazy. I don't think filters work right when you've got streamer mode on. So, whatever. 4. This is some of Sam's art. So, this one right here, my older brother Steve is still a recruiter for the Army, and this is up on his wall in his because he's in E8 now. So my brother. So this is Sam's art anyway. So he has this. He was out of prints for this because I wanted a couple more. Because one of my buddies in Colorado Springs also has this up on his wall. So this is pretty cool art that Sam does. What's another one here? This one, I used to have this up in my house, but I gave it as a gift to somebody because I had bought this when I first met him. This is pretty cool art of his. So, yeah, if you guys like this, and they all glow in the dark too, which is pretty cool. Let's see another one here. Hold on. This one is still... Yeah, that's all I got right there. That's all I got right on that one. But I have some other ones that are up. I have one right here. That's the Samurais versus Ninjas. Or Samurais versus Knights. That's Samurais versus Knights. One art, please. Let me see. I know I got some more. Hold on. I know I'm also going far afield because that's what I like to do. Instead of doing serious stuff, I like to mess around. That's funny. It's funny when I find ridiculous stuff from our Discord. This is actually really good. The Art of Code. That's a good one to watch if you guys have never seen that. For you guys that like coding, that's a pretty good talk. All right, if I can't find it, that's fine. Probably not going to find it in Office, but I have a bunch of stuff that I've posted about my office. All right, I won't look too long, but I just want to see. Also, I do consider the search on Discord to be like the worst search tool I've ever used. This is my old office setup, and that's some of his art right there. That's the Knights versus the Samurai, and then this over here is a Kraken eating a ship, and these both glow in the dark. They're if you put them under black light, they glow. That's kind of cool. So anyways, yeah, that's Sam Creston's art right there. It's really clean, really nice lines, good art. And then I got some of his shirts too, which he sells shirts as well. Whoops. All right, let's get out of here. Stop messing around in Discord. Get back to serious stuff. Given a capture, identify potential network communication issues using information from ARP. Yeah, so ARP storms can be seen. You can see ARP storms like this. So this is how I would find ARP type problems. I would come here and I would go to statistics and I would look at, where is it? It should just be, I was gonna say protocol hierarchy, but it should be, we can also look at service times, but let me see if I just see, let's just go for IPv4 statistics. Let's just go with all addresses. So we can see here, if we were getting too many ARP traffic, too much ARP traffic. So let's go analyze statistics here. We can also look at time to live, source and destination, but we can also look at types. So typically you want to look at the percentage of traffic, right? And then this is one way to look at it. So how much TCP versus UDP, but there's a full breakdown here typically, which is, where's that at? It's been a while since I've looked at this one. Might just be capture file properties, where it has, here's all the information, and here's all our packets and our time span and this kind of stuff. That's useful, but that's not what I want. I want the, we can check service response times, I guess, which is useful as well. But I'm looking for, I don't know why I don't see it here. I thought it was just everything. Yeah, here's the protocol hierarchy. Okay, this is where I would go. So ARP storms can be seen, and it would be analyze our statistics. And then problems are based on a ratio of how many ARP packets you see. So if you're seeing a lot of ARP in here, right? So you come down here, and if you're seeing a large percentage of ARP compared to everything else, so the percentage is 0.02. If you were seeing like 10% of your packets coming from ARP, that's a huge amount of like broadcast storms of ARP asking who is this, who is that, who is that, and your devices are having problems. And I think I told you guys this, or I've mentioned this before. I was working for a big college out here. Through my company Redline, I was kind of embedded with a college, and we were putting Rocky, well, no, it was RHEL 9 actually, so we had a license. So we were putting RHEL 9 into our environment, and we built like 2 or 3 servers, and we dropped them on the network. So they had a front end, so they had their front end management interface, and then they had a back end InfiniBand interface, right? And the back end InfiniBand interface, we always give it an IP address. Now, do you need to use IP address, IP over InfiniBand? No, you don't have to use a TCP stack at all in InfiniBand. However, if you want to be able to communicate over that, you can, right? So we did. So that's pretty standard for my company. We'll put an IP. So we've got our own network schema back there over InfiniBand. Again, can you communicate over InfiniBand without it? Absolutely. But most of us like to tie in with protocols that use TCP/IP. So we do that over InfiniBand. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. That's easy to set up. But what was happening was we had GPFS out there, which is the Global Parallel File System by IBM, pretty stable tool, right? And what we found was, so we put these other devices on there, and across our cluster of like 1,200 nodes, we got a massive slowdown of traffic to our GPFS. And we're like, well, what the hell's going on? We haven't changed anything. I mean, yeah, we built these 3 systems, which anytime you change anything and introduce something new to a network and then have some major problem, you start looking at that new thing you introduce, right? So we go to those boxes, and those interfaces for, it was RHEL 9, and the InfiniBand driver we had was some Mellanox OFED driver or whatever, you know, built it for the kernel, everything worked. But what was happening was the IP that was over the top was something to do with the way RHEL dealt with ARP. Those 3 boxes were broadcast storming that ARP in that InfiniBand backend network, and everything was taking time to respond, and it was slowing down performance of the backend high-speed parallel file system that we had, right? So we found that by going and looking and seeing that we were at like 90% ARP packets, and we're like, that's not good. Then we removed those, and then we went, okay, well, that's the problem. So then what we did was, I've shown you guys this a few times, but this was the resolution, was you do your sysctl-a grep for ARP, right? And you can change the way that your system deals with ARP right here. This is the sysctl is your kernel control parameters, and we could go in there and we change the way that it was behaving. I think we put everything to 0, or I forget exactly what the parameters were. You can go look those up if you want. But knowing that those are there is very important for then going, well, okay, we found the problem, right? We found it through TCP dump, right? And then throwing it into here. And then you can analyze and see that you're more than, I mean, ARP shouldn't be more than like 2% typically in most networks. And in my case, it's 0.2%, so it's like nothing. But if ARP is 90% of traffic, because all your devices are just talking on ARP, well, that makes sense why that slowed down your protocol. And then once we did that, it never happened again. So we put that into our build, right? I use Ansible to build everything. Just set these configurations. You typically drop them in like etc sysctl.d, typically sysctl.d right in here. And this is the default ones that I have. I don't have any, but if I had hardening ones that I wanted to put in there, I could. And this would just be another one that we would add. And you can put any number of files you want down in here as long as they end with a .conf, and they'll be read in as part of the configuration. And I've shown this before when we talk about like security stuff. If we were to talk like STIGs, and you were to pull up your STIG viewer, I've done this a few times for you guys and showed you guys this over the years, but this is something that we do in our security course. You go to like your RHEL 9 STIGs, and you look here for sysctl. It'll filter down to just these things that we need to set. So kernel dmessage restrict 1 for whatever different reasons, right? And now you can go find all the hardening best practices that you might want to use internal to your network. So a lot of times people are like, well, Scott, how would I harden my internal network? Well, one, I would do it slowly, but also I would do it from, maybe these ideas. These things explain why the things are set the ways they're set. And maybe you go, well, no, I do need to have, so one of these that you turn off in here is, it's routing. So it's forward, right? So you turn off accepting source route. This is actually listening to routing protocol, so we don't do that anyways. But ipconfig forwarding. So we're not functioning most of our Linux boxes in most modern environments as a router. So we turn this off, right? And it should be by default off, but in some systems maybe it was turned on. I actually have some systems where I need an exception to this, so I get an exception for this. But the point is, I should be able to see on most of my networks that that's turned off. IPnet conf all forwarding. So if I wanted to see it over here, I would do, and I would see, yeah, this is not functioning as a router. But if I were to go over into my device that is functioning as a router, which is, where is he at? What do I call him? I think, yeah, cRouter is the old one. What's the new one called? Somebody help me out here. What's my new one called? Oh, I gotta go find him. I call him Linux router. Oh, did I not put him in? He's still 160 though, so that's fine. Let's SSH over to cRouter, even though that's not his name anymore. I don't think I can get in him remotely. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we don't, for security reasons. I don't allow connections directly, and we can go here and see him. And if I were to, I'm gonna make that bigger so you guys can see him. Hold on. Console. I guess I could just jam that up the whole screen. If I were to do sysctl, whoops, -a, -i forward, you'll see that he is forwarding on IPv4, and that's necessary because if he wasn't forwarding, we wouldn't be able to talk, right? So, all right. Oh, Atavirk? No. MAC address is no. That's actually a good question though. I didn't see that Atavirk, sorry, until right now. But that's actually funny you mentioned. I often joke around about, you'll watch Criminal Minds has an example of this. There's that girl that's like their tech guru, and she's like, oh yeah, I tracked them back by their MAC addresses, and I'm like, here's the thing. Let me go back to my drawing real quick to show you why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm going to say something that's a fact, and then we can go from there if we want. But a MAC address never leaves the next hop. So let me show you real quick what I mean by that. So MAC, like she's like, oh, I tracked their MAC address across the network, and you're like, no, you didn't, because it never left the network. It never left the next hop. And what I mean by that is this. This is why I'm not worried about MAC address. IP addresses a little more, but most people here know how they can get a hold of my actual ProLug address if they wanted to anyways, right? Because they know where that is. But yeah, system. Yeah, so let me show you guys what's happening as traffic is going through a network. And I have a really good drawing of this internal to my college, but I can't share, proprietary stuff like that. But this one I drew, so I can draw that. I can show you guys this one whenever I want. Where's that? This is important. So this is important because it speaks to my point, but then I'll tell you guys how it works. So as the data is flowing down from my host, right, it gets a MAC address applied right here, and the MAC address is my physical address built into my NIC. It's burned in there, or we could spoof one, right? We know how to spoof it. We can do all kinds of things like that. But then it leaves my network and goes out to leave, and based on the route, right? And some of you guys know I've shown this before. If I were to go here, whoops, that was like the worst thing ever. If I go here and I say IP route, we would know that the next device it's going to jump to, if I were to, like, let's say I'm pinging www.google.com real quick. I'm going to go out to 142, 251, 155, 119. Well, how is my device going to find it? Well, it tries to match with the longest prefix match that it can. And by the way, it doesn't match any of these. These do not match. So the first 16, the first 2 octets don't match between 169, 254, and that. We know that. It doesn't match there. We know that. It doesn't match there. Like, I'm being silly at this point. They clearly don't match. And it doesn't match here, obviously, right? So it doesn't use any of these interfaces. It goes out its default to this device here, which happens to be my internal router. Now, when it gets to my internal router, all of this information that's been stuck onto it, right, from here on, all this header is going to be stripped off. Well, let me take it back. Actually, none of this upper layer stuff is going to be stripped off. What's going to happen is at the network layer, we're gonna strip everything off to the network layer, and my router there is going to go, well, the place it wants to go is this 142, 251, 155, 119. I need to send this out, right? I need to send this out to my upper, I don't know how to get there either because I'm just a little router sitting in somebody's home. So it's going to send it up to, my ISP, and then that's going to start traveling and figuring out where to go from there. But real quick, when my router that's leaving my home, my 192.168.11.1, when he goes to send that out to the next host along the path, 2 things are going to happen. One, he's going to do network address translation, so you never see my internal IP address. So like my 192.168.11.47, you can't get there from anywhere else in the world because those are non-routable packets anyways, right? Those are non-routable. I can have it, any of you can have it, right? So the way you get back to me is based on my external ISP. That's the thing most people are more worried about getting exposed out there. But mine is resolvable through prolug.org, right? So, I mean, you can find out where I'm at anyways, right? Although it is masked behind AWS front, whatever that front thing is. So technically you'd have to know how to resolve our prolug.asuscom.com site, but that's neither here nor there. My point is the frame that it's going to send and apply when it goes and puts a new frame on is going to be his MAC address, not my internal MAC address anymore. So MAC address is our non-routable. MAC address is like kind of like knowing my first name is Scott. There's a lot of Scotts out there. Knowing my first name and my last name, little more important, because now you can know it's Scott Champagne, and then you're like, oh, I can start to figure out who he is. Yeah, sure. But I let you guys know who I am anyways on the internet, so I really don't care about that. But yeah, the main, I guess the thing that people would say is dangerous is you can have problems if you're sharing your IP address openly, but MAC addresses, not really. Now, you really don't want to map your internal network too much for people. However, my internal network is open in that people can get back into 192.168.11.200, and then that's like the wild west in there. You guys can do whatever you want in that network. So there's that. So when you stream, are there things that there's 100% things that you shouldn't show people. I should never. So I'll go over to I'll show you guys the thing that you should never show. So let's go back over here. SH2 Rocky 5 CD. We'll just do it here in root. So in here, we'll just do an SSH keygen. There we go. Oh, we don't have it on there. Oh, wow. DNF. Search all keygen. Search all. There we go. I want to see... no matches found. Oh, we want this. What provides SSH keygen? So it's OpenSSH. Do I not have that on here? I should have that on here. That's definitely supposed to be there. Well, maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe I don't know how to type things. Anyways, let's say that I want to make a file down here, root scott example, real quick. And I'm not going to do anything special with it. And now right here, I've got a scott example and a scott example.pub. So if I ls-l these two files, one clearly shows me I shouldn't show it to anybody. It's read-write only by me, right? It's not readable by anybody else, so it's a 600 permission, right? But this other one is 644. I can share this one far and wide. So I can cat scott example.pub. I can show that to all you guys. It's the same way with people that put stuff in our Discord for their public keys to be able to connect into our network. Doesn't matter. But this one, I'm going to throw this key away here in a second. So this one I should never show you. And you say, wait a minute, Scott, you should never show that. Like somebody could go and meticulously copy it line by line, like screen capture or do like exclamation mark clip and can I not get the whole key? And copy that themselves. Yeah, somebody could copy that by hand. And then they would be able to get into the system if the authorized key file had the public version of this key. Now I'm about to throw this key away, so it doesn't matter that I just shared that. But you absolutely never show your keys. And actually, this is one of the things, because that's readable by root, if anybody in your organization ever leaves as root, that means that they could have copied this. Therefore, we have to rotate keys every time. So the standard for that, if you're like, well, Scott, where would I even know how to take care of keys? I often show you guys this one. It's a NIST 800-57 has key management. So this is the recommendations for key management. And I will link this to you guys that want to. This is some light reading to put you to sleep tonight. But if you're like, my organization doesn't have good policies on that. Guys, I was at an organization that we had over 10-year-old root keys. That is a freaking nightmare. Root keys were 10 years old. That's insanity. Because the root key, if there is a root key and you're allowing root to log in, it's a massive problem. And that root key really should just be locked up. But anyways, this is a yeah, oh yeah, AI can read through this pretty quick too. Yeah. So if you guys were like, hey, actually I've heard of people doing that more nowadays. It's funny you say that, Local Ken, but you can take this and I think feed this into any of your little AIs and just say, hey, give me a summary, give me a quick write-up. Where should I focus if I want to know, like this will tell you a little bit about how keys work, right? But this, I tell people all the time, like, don't sleep on the NIST documents. If you are a complete like beginner to how TLS works, I actually do this in our lab here on the certificate and key management section when people are learning certificates in key management. When we do TLS and stuff, I have you guys go read the TLS implementation. So NIST TLS implementation guide, because this is a fantastic guide right here for, let's say you're like, Scott, I've never heard of, like, I know TLS is part of like transport layer security and I've heard about it, but I don't even know where to go start. Well, I would tell you one of the first things is go learn the definitions and the terminology around it. So this is a fantastic one. Where's it at? Right here. This is their glossary. So this would just teach you a lot of the terms. So then when you're going and listening to people and talking with things, you understand the concepts of it. The other one I always show you guys is right here. It's Spiffy, Solving the Bottom Turtle. I think this is one of the best books. You start on page 41 of this. I'll put that like this so it doesn't take that page up. But you go here, you go to page 41 of this. And if you're no good at how X509 certificates work and you don't know even how that communication's established, this will walk you through it right here. I think this is a fantastic book in general if you just want to get a high level overview. But if you're like, Scott, I don't want to learn all that zero trust stuff, I don't care, then I would say we'll start right here on page 41, 42, and this will give you how X509 works. So if you say, Scott, every time, I talk about this sometimes, like, you're in meetings and people start talking about certificates and you're like, oh, that's for all the smart people. if you're in the meeting, you're probably one of the smart people. You probably just need to go spend a little time reading about it, because you should be able to talk certificates with people. And I'm not saying you have to get down into what's going on with the cryptographic ciphers and the private public key and the algorithms that are being used. I'm not saying you got to be the cryptographer for it. I'm just saying you should understand what's going on there. We've got a certificate authority. That's trust. Everything is signed based off of that. If it gets compromised in some way, we can cut it off, and we should know how to do that within our protocols and within our tools. And right, and then we configure our devices to talk to. My point is, all this stuff is very attainable for you guys. You just have to spend some time with it, right? And if you say, Scott, where would I even start? We've got all these free books out there, but I would start in the security course if you were doing security stuff. And I would say, here's our security course. This is what it goes over, right? There's a bunch of labs and stuff, a bunch of stuff for you to go do. But this is what our security stuff looks like. So I'll link it to you guys too. It's all free, so I'm not selling you nothing. But even if I was selling you it, it's free. So free 99. All right. Anyways, where were we at? You guys have caught me monologuing. Anybody know what that's from? Me and the wife say that to each other all the time. You caught me monologuing. Anyways, given capture, identify potential network communication issues using ARC. DHCP. So DHCP is a big one because I have a capture that shows it. So this one may actually be super useful for people. We captured it off of, let's close this one down, don't save. And I captured this the other day while we were talking. So it was, that's an old, man, look how old that one is. What do I call it? Leave it to me to not call it anything useful. Jeez. I definitely called it, it was definitely in downloads, and I definitely moved it a few weeks ago. Did I? God, so terrible at this. Hold on. Where's this at? God, I know I literally just did this the other day while we were hanging out. I did all the PCAP stuff. It was in, maybe it's Capture PCAP, but that's like the worst name ever. Why wouldn't I have told you guys it was? All right, and then let's go look for DHCP. No packet containing. No packet containing this string. All right, well, I could have sworn we had. All right, well, we'll go make it, right? Do you guys want to see how we'd make it? Because this is terrible. I actually, now that I think about this, I did say I need to make this one. So let's go capture it like this. Let's exit out. And on this one, we'll go over to temp and we'll just how do we want to do it? We'll do it from temp here. Let's TCP dump. Let's just IP PR ADVR. Let's look at our interface. It's ENS, so history. Yeah, so I did file.pcap. That still doesn't sound like me. TCP dump. I think I was showing my students this. And let's just do a -w, and we'll do temp. So that's the output file, and we'll call this werewolf dot date plus %f back dot pcap, right? So we're gonna do this, but as we do this, hold on, this is gonna capture in the background. But as this is happening, so we're gonna start that. Boom. I'm gonna move over here, and I'm gonna go into my Proxmox, and I'm gonna take hammer 1 through 5, which nobody's on right now. Hammer 1 through, whoops. Maybe I can't highlight multiple of them. Let's oops. Get back over here. Just reboot them. Reboot. Yes. We're just gonna reboot random ones of these. So what's gonna happen is I reboot these nodes. I'll reboot this guy too. Yep, get out of here. We'll go reboot one of these guys too. Boom. Because what's gonna happen is as they reboot, they're gonna go through the DHCP process, and we know that. Let's go to hammer 1. We know that because we can watch the DHCP process happening right here. He's already done his configuration. He's pulling his traffic down, pulling his kernel and his other information, and he's booting back up. This server over here is the one that's serving that DHCP traffic. That's why this is so important right here. It's this guy. So let's let those boot. We'll finish up with Rocky 5 because he was the last one that had to boot. So we'll let him come up. He's already mounting his disks. Okay, they're all done. I'm gonna go ahead and Control C, and it says that there was 115,511 packets captured by the filter. Let's see how big that file is. ls-lh on temp werewolf. Right, it's 4 gigs. Oh wow, it's a big file. That's fine. It's not gonna be that big a deal. Let's go. Let's now pull that down to the home lab system. So we'll come back over here to, we'll do it off of Jumpo 1, and we will. Oh, we got to do one other thing. It is readable by everybody, so that's cool. We can pull it off of here. And let's grep werewolf Etsy host. I already know his IP address, but we'll do it anyways. SSH as, can I SSH to werewolf? I don't think I can. I don't think I can get in there like that. I think I always get in there like this. I think I have a different user for that one. Maybe. Maybe. All right, there we go. All right, so for us to do this, we're going to do a SCP Scott at werewolf, and then we're going to go temp werewolf dot whatever, right? We don't know what it is, to here, and we're going to put it. Actually, we're going to put it in temp. So my password, and we're going to pull that file down to this system here. And it says it's going to take a minute or whatever. That's fine. And then we're going to pull it down to my local machine. So we're going to use command prompt inside of a, I know, shamefully a Windows box, but that's okay. We're going to pull this down here. We're going to go like this. We can do SCP from schampine at 192.168.11.245. Is that his IP? We'll find out here in a second. And we're going to go off of temp werewolf anything, and then we're going to put it into, you know, hold on, CD to downloads, right? And then we'll do SCP schampine at 92.168.11. Let's see what it is. I guess I could have just pulled it straight, but that's fine. Yeah, let's try that real quick. 100.25 temp werewolf anything to here, and that is Scott now. Yeah, there we go. Yes, and then we'll go do I not know the yeah, that's fine. I think I've seen that before, and that's not that big of a deal. But now let's come here, CD temp ls, and then we'll go ls-l on werewolf, and we'll see that that's readable as well, so that's fine. And then this one will come off of, I think he's 245, so okay. So we'll go 245, and then it's Champlain. If I can spell my own name right. Yeah, there we go. And then the password here, that'll pull down. Should pull down, yeah, there we go. So now the reason I did that is because now we're going to be able to go look at that werewolf file here in our Wireshark. So let that finish. That's kind of slow for my network, but we'll close this down. And then now we should have DHCP captures here. So I'm going to use this one probably then in the Discord for people when they want to troubleshoot this. They can open up this DHCP. And actually I could grab just a subset of it so it doesn't have to be a whole 4 gig file, and then people can just use that one if they wanted to. So let's give this a second here real quick. Where's that at? Don't let that close up. Still going. All right, so we can hang out and do whatever we want until then. You guys are pretty quiet today. Has anybody got any questions or anything? Anybody got anything they want to talk about? I'm not great at the I mean I keep track of what's going on because people are always dropping links in the Discord, but I'm not the guy that's doing, like, you know, I don't do analysis of like current news and that kind of stuff. I just kind of do the engineering side of things. If you guys have questions that I might be able to answer, let me know. Let's pull this up. So I'm going to say File, Open, and I'm going to go grab this new one, which is the Werewolf PCAP. And I just called it that because that was the name of the server, not because Werewolf operations matter that much. Although this will have all the Werewolf operations, which are good. But now, look, we can see the health of that other network. Like, are there things going on that maybe shouldn't be happening? Like this kind of stuff, we can kind of evaluate what's going on in the network. But we want this. We want DHCP traffic, right? And we want it to say, hey, there was a DHCP discover. So let's see if we can follow this UDP stream. Yeah, that's not going to work necessarily, but here is our DHCP information. Here's our discover. Here's our request. There's a thing called DORA, discover offer request and then acknowledge, right? DORA is the process. I do have that in the study guide. But we should be able to see what's happening where traffic is coming into this box. Oh, and they're broadcasting, right? DHCP, but they should be broadcasting on, let's say here. Let's go back to just here. Good, this guy. And we may filter here. So we can mark this as a filter, watch prepare as a filter, and say the selected things. So WS call protocol DHCP will just look for DHCP going on in our environment. Let's take a second because that's a big file. So here we go. So DORA. So you're looking for DORA over here. That's discover, offer, request, acknowledge, right? So they discover. The discovery always looks like this. So when somebody's discovering, they are broadcasting all Fs in their MAC layer because they don't have an IP address yet. They don't know what's going on. Atavirk, the current version of the study guide is up in our Discord on meeting notes right here. So if you go to meeting notes here, you'll see it right there. This is the most current version that I have. However, I will have I'm gonna update it one more time tomorrow, and it'll be the finished version. So Atavirk, this is the one we're dealing with, and I released it as a PDF. If you guys wanted the doc, I'd give you guys the doc. I just know a lot of people are very averse to that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's up in our Discord under meeting notes. That's the most recent one. You can get older versions of it too if you guys wanted, but if you guys wanted to see how I put it together, because we just met on Saturdays and just went through the body of knowledge and basically answered all the questions we could find, right? How's it going, Rupert? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are going through and we're looking at the discover offer. Oh, by the way, I'll show you guys where this is in the study guide too. Again, study guide's free. So if I go to DORA like that, here's the things. There's a DHCP discover, an offer, a request, and an ACK. So it's discover, offer, request, ACK. And how does that work? Well, again, a machine comes up and he doesn't know who he is, so he broadcasts all Fs, and the only device that should respond is the Werewolf server. So here's the Werewolf server right here, and he's offering out what is available within the within the network. So it says here you can be the client IP address 192.168.200.41 because I have a small pool of DHCP ranges while the nodes come up. Once the nodes come up with Werewolf, then they switch to their proper node IP address, which is noted in other places. But the point is, if I were to test, if somebody were to say, hey Scott, is your Werewolf server properly serving those out? We just captured that as I kicked over a bunch of servers. Some of you guys saw me kick over those servers. And now those servers are 41, 42, 43, and that's all that got, and it looks like one got 30. So 41, 42, 43. Anyways, the point is those IP addresses were only given to them for the time that they needed them, and then they went and started up and did the things that they needed to. So my Werewolf server is responding properly. I should be able to click on one of these and probably follow this one UDP stream, I hope, and it would limit it to only that traffic. So it looks like here's discovers and requests being shown. I'd like to remove that filter and go back to my original filter. So my original filter was this other one, Where, by the way, so this is a thing you have to know if you're going to take this certification. You come over here and you say, well, I want all of these DHCPs. So I right click right on that column and I say, prepare this as a filter, only what I have selected. Or kind of nice, you can say not what I've selected and you can exclude things. I want to select these. So here's all of my, again, back to that DORA concept. DHCP Discover. Is DHCP Discover happening in my system? Yes. Devices have popped up. This should come up here in a second. When we apply it. I didn't apply the filter yet. We should see the Discovers happening. Yes. This DHCP Discovers happening. And was I lying to you, or did I tell you the truth about the Ethernet frame? The destination is a broadcast of all Fs, all ones, right? F in hexadecimal is 4 ones. Because hexadecimal is all zeros, 0, through all ones, which is F, right? We represent 4 hexadecimal, 4 individual binary digits as an F, right? So this is 4 ones, 4 ones, 4 ones. It's 48 total ones right there, right? So that's happening, right? We see our DHCP Discover happening. And then he offers to that node. He offers to that node from him, and it goes to... Oh, and then the Ethernet frame is going to the Proxmox server, because that's how I know to get over there, right? But then the thing that he offers is his IP address here of 192.168.200.41, which it can use. So it's going to do that, and then it's going to request it. We should see that he accepts it. And then, there's all this other information that can happen in there as well. But we should see that this is a... Oh, that's a request. I didn't grab the right one. So it's DHCP Discover Offer Request. And then acknowledgement. So then with the acknowledgement, it says, yep, I'm taking that address. And then he goes and starts getting his boot file and information, starts to pull down his iPXE information. So this is all the information that's actually happening between Werewolf and those nodes that are booting. If you guys have never seen that process in my environment, my nodes are all stateless. All the lab nodes, when you kick them over and they come back up, they're like a trap door. They're just back to the stateful information again, or stateless information again. So anyways, that was what we were studying here. Did I not stay there? Whatever, doesn't matter. This is the traffic then. So I'm gonna actually take this and I'm gonna do an edit, and I'm going to say export specified packets, and I'm gonna call this here. File name will be Werewolf DHCP example. Right, so now people can go and they can use this as a PCAP in our server, right? And then let's go. I'm going to open that real quick in my system. So I'm going to close this. We already have this, so we can just close it. Let's get out of here. File. Open. Let's see, Werewolf DHCP example. And this only has the DHCP traffic. Yeah. There we go. This is perfect. So now I'm going to take that. I'm going to go drop it in the Discord. And then I'll drop it right here for Werewolf DHCP example for test for DHCP section of troubleshooting and DORA operations. And again, DORA is not like Dora the Explorer. That's the DORA tool. And there's nothing in there that it's all it's all safe to. That'll be people's risky download of the day, hoping that I didn't do anything weird with that file. But no, there's nothing going on in there. We're just DHCP, right? So now when we go talk about it tomorrow and people want to, because we're going to have our meeting tomorrow about it here. So again, anybody can come to those. We've been having, I'd say we have anywhere between like 5 and 20 people in there. And we just kind of hang out and talk Wireshark and walk through how we would use it and try to troubleshoot things. And again, going through the body of knowledge of a thing, right? This is the certification test, but even if you don't want to spend it's $340 to take this, $349 I think, but they have a deal right now because it's 1 year old. They're doing $100 off, so it's like $249. So I don't know. Maybe somebody wants to go take it for that. I don't know. I don't think it's going to help everybody's career, but I think it's a useful tool. It's definitely useful in your career to know this tool. But does it like maybe get you the job? I don't know. It might help out a little bit with some things. It at least shows that you're working on studying. So I mean that's something. All right. Yeah. So there's that. What else do we have here? Let's get out of here. That's how we copied it down. You guys saw that. What else do we have? Oh, I have this. So like when I go to just chatting, I can do this. I think that's kind of cool. I put that together the other day in Adobe Effects. I don't know. I have like all the Adobe suite now, so I've been just kind of messing around with it. I think that's kind of cool for when I'm just hanging out talking. But I probably won't do that too much. I'll stay over here. We should probably do a few things here. That's bugging me that I can't remember where that thing was earlier. Really bugging me that I can't find that stupid thing that I was using to clean up the other day. Ah, it's right here. Is it? No. It has to do with your text box, though. And specifically about removing the... Hold on, I'm trying to clean something up from earlier. Oh, I'm always jumping around, guys. It's my, one of my curses. I think it makes me a better engineer, but it probably makes me a more difficult communicator. Alright, where the hell is it? I need to find these stupid underlines. These underlines kept happening, so I had to go figure out how to get rid of them. And I did. Here they are. Here's some. But the place that you remove them, hold on. I think I dropped in meeting notes what I did. Yeah, I don't remember. All right, we're gonna go back to the hold on. It's borders in the paragraph group, so hold on. Paragraph. Yeah, but this isn't where you do it. It's over on the home. Here it is. Ah, here it is. Get rid of all the borders. No borders. There we go. I was like, where the hell is it? I know I did it the other day. So here we'll get rid of all these. No borders. And a lot of times you can do Control Y and it'll keep doing the last thing that you did. There we go. So let's go see if I can just Control Y the shit out of all this. Those things were so annoying. They started popping up. Yeah. I think I got them out of the whole dock now. Yeah, they were super annoying. They were bugging me for a few days, but I wasn't really worried about it because I wasn't like done with the dock yet. But I think I got rid of most of all of them now. Any more in here? No. All right. So anyways, yeah, this is, I do need to start at the top of this and say PCA, Wireshark. Here's the objectives. I'm going to say this document, I linked this earlier for you guys, but this document follows Wireshark certification. Right there. Yeah, there we go. Quick Jason question, if I may. I'm trying to remember cybersecurity news aggregation website I first saw on this channel. Has red font maybe? I can't find it again. I'm new. Cybersecurity news aggregate. So I can tell you there's a pretty good. Trying to think if it's. Well, let me tell you this. There's what is it? It's called. There's a thing for cybersecurity, InfoSec streams. So this is a very big one right here. And this one will tell you who's streaming right now. So like the Shy Hat's on, I'm on. This is one that aggregates, at least will give you a bunch of places to go if you're looking for different streamers. Now these are just streamers that have been added. So if you know a streamer that you want to get them added, you can do a pull request and put them on there. It's based on activity. So like if you're active and you're online, so me, the Shy Hat raids in here sometimes. They're pretty good for stuff. I can give them a shout out, but yeah, they raid in here every now and then. They do I think they do mostly pen testing and cybersecurity topics, you know, that kind of stuff, which I don't do a whole lot of pen testing on stream. Sometimes we do that down the Discord when we're messing around and stuff, but I mostly stay away from that. Cybersecurity news. The best ones for that, there's actually a really good guy on here. One of the guys I follow. Is he even on here? I might need to get him put on here. I don't see him on here, but one of the guys I follow is BlazeBits. So if you guys don't follow BlazeBits like this, give him a shout out. He's pretty solid for that kind of stuff. So he's definitely the one that I would ask. And his stream kind of looks like this. So if you guys have never seen a stream, it kind of looks like this, right? But that's where I would he's probably the one that would know better than me. Other than that, I'm trying to think of where we don't share the layout of the network on stream. Atavirk, I pretty much show you guys everything in my home lab. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. What was the hacky thing I was doing with the AWS? So the way my stream works, yeah, let me show you that. So somebody's asking about, I'll pull my drawing out here. So here's our home lab, right? This is the way that the lab works. But the way that you get to Prolog, so the Prolog website, which is right here. This is the thing that, so internal to my home network, I have a Cox internet account, right? So I also have another internet account in my home lab that I can go out. So I have two ways to get out of my network. But yeah, BlazeBits stuff is awesome. I actually like, he's a pen tester. So for you guys that are like more interested in just like doing red teaming stuff, guys, some of you know I was a red team lead for AAA. So I've done that at a huge company with 5,000 plus servers. But I didn't love it. Like it's a lot of this stuff. It's like, you do it and it's fun and stuff, but it's like, is it really like what you want to do? I just like building servers and like keeping them stable and stuff. That's kind of my thing. Now, can I do some of that other stuff? Sure. Do I understand all that stuff? Sure. But that's just kind of been being around the network for a long time. Anyways, the question was, what's the hacky thing I do with AWS on my site, right? I think that was the question. Where's that at? Oh, why did I say not to share your network layout? It's the main reason you don't share your external IP is because then people can start probing it. They can do denial of service attacks, these kind of things. That's the main danger. That's the main reason you wouldn't show that. Because some people have targeted things that can like knock you out of IRC chats, because all of the chats that we're doing are actually IRC based. So they can do all kinds of things to just mess with you, mess with your communication in the channel. So a lot of times people try to obfuscate that a little bit. You don't really want to do it. I'm not really super worried about that because I give people the access to my environment anyways. It's the same thing with people say, well, you're giving people access, don't you worry about them hacking around on the system. And I'm like, well, they already have root, so what are they going to do, root the box? They're already root on the box. I mean, you know, like for me, like there's no fun in just, if you just give me the keys to a place and then go try to break in, I'd be like, ugh. You already gave me the keys. I put my lockpick set away. Also, what if I'm behind a CG NAT? Well, so Yeah, so Atavirk, I mean, if you want anybody to be able to communicate back with you in any kind of meaningful way, like to communicate back, like let's say you're sharing out like I don't know cameras of some kind, some security cameras or something, then they have to have a way to get back to you. But yeah, they only see the external any type of network address translation. They only see the outside IP. But to answer that question, so prolug.org looks like this. But if I go pull up my I need to name all these, but where is he at? I think these are just things that I've drawn over time. So hold on. What the hell is even this? I'm curious about what we were doing. Oh, this was us doing something else, unrelated. One of these is our network. That's just me drawing crap for people. We were talking about VLANs. I was explaining VLANs to people. Heartbeats. Prolug lab design. No. Is this it? That's something else. Somebody did that one. That's our automation course. If I don't have it here, I definitely have it in. Yeah. Hold on. I got it over here. I know where I'm at. I got it in this. So some of you guys know you can draw in VS Code. You can make this pop up with. You can draw in VS Code with Excalidraw. If you guys didn't know that, there's a plugin. You can do it all for free. Let's go open a recent one called. Oh yeah, I never put this out on the web. So the answer to the question was, you know, when you have Cox Internet. What the fuck's going on here? Is that like a busted? I don't know why I would ever have had Microsoft Foundry anything. Website deploy. Yeah, I don't know why, and I don't know why this always goes back to the non way that I have it. So hold on a second. Strokes are white and background is black. Boom. That is not the way I wanted that. Here, canvas is black. There we go. All right, so Cox Internet is blocked on port 80, so I can't just share port 80 into my home environment and have you guys run against my Kubernetes cluster. So what happens is on the internet, you hit my AWS CloudFront on port 80. So if you go to prolug.org, you're actually hitting an AWS CloudFront. So if you were to do, so prolug.org, right? If you were to hit this, and then you were to press the hacker button, which is, what is it, F12, right? And you're like, okay, I'm a hacker man, and you start coming in here and digging into what's happening under the hood, right? Right, you're playing hacker man, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with my site. You're gonna find that you communicated. Where's it at? We should be able to go here, and then we should be able to see how we communicated. Where's our source? Where's our network? You should be able to see that you communicated with some device. I don't really use this ever. It would also look like this. If you were to... Right? What do you hit on the outside here, right? You hit this external IP. That's not my home IP address, right? My home IP address is able to be found with prolug.asuscom.com, right? So you can find that. It's in our Discord. It's how you actually connect into the lab environment, right? But that's not my home lab, right? That's not my home address. My home address is right. We could resolve this other one, which is the prolug.asuscom.com, right? Anyways, you guys can find that in the Discord if you want. But the point is, this is in front because you can't use port 80, but all browsers want to use port 80. So if you want to connect into my home lab, or if you want to connect into our prolug.org site, you're hitting my system eventually on port 80, but not really ever. What's happening is this is a you can think of it as a it's kind of functioning as web application firewall, but not really. It's really just it's CloudFront, so it's just a cache, right? It's a what the heck's open network tab in the browser. Yeah. It is right here, isn't it? Yeah. Hold on. Network tab and browse and refresh page to see the packets. Okay, so now I'll refresh. We'll see the packets. Okay, there we go. So I should be able to see though, right? Yeah, and I don't know where the things are at all. But the point is, you're not hitting my home directly. So what that looks like then? Let me go pull this back up here real quick. Yeah, what is? I was gonna say, what is that filter? I never use this tool ever, so I don't know what that filter is doing. Hold on. What the fuck? Where is that? Here it is. Good God, man! I legitimately hate the way they do Windows now. The windowing inside of this. Let's go network. Let's pull that all out. There we go. Okay. But even then, you'll see that it's not talking to my system. There we go. We should see prolog.org. And if we go see, yeah, there's his remote IP address, right? And it's on 443, so it is using TLS termination, right? And there's that IP that you're seeing, 18.155, 173. Now that's different than if you were to go to, oh shoot, what is my? Oh shoot, I have it. Actually, I have it right here. The external is 8080 that I allow in. So we go over here and we go to prolog.asuscom.com on port 80, and now you would see that is the connection, and that is the right IP address for the home lab on Cox, right? That is the IP address for the network. So yeah, I don't know why that was filtered like that, but again, I don't use this much. I don't really do a lot with web stuff like this. But what I do, or what I know how to do well, is build the Kubernetes piece. So here, once that hits my external router, that gets mapped inside to a service that's internal facing on port 31,000. So if I were to go here and history grep K8s from Etsy hosts, and I were to SSH to prod K8s-1, that's where I do all that work. Sudo to Scott, right? Because that's my su dash. What am I thinking? Become the Scott user. I'm already root. And then over here, if I were to do like kubectl get services, you would see my Prolog website service, right? And this is the internal IP, but here's the ports that are being forwarded back to this box, right? And then if you were to see kubectl describe service, right? This is the backend cluster nodes. So kubectl dash get dash oy, right? If you were to look at the pods, they're back here running, and these are the endpoints. So 182 through there's 249. You would see them all right here, but these are the two primary ones. 249 and 166. So these two down here. Oh, apparently I'm still running version 1 for whatever reason. I don't know why I didn't ever destroy that one, but the old version's up still. And what happens then is that comes back here to our Kubernetes cluster, which we're running most everything on prod K8s-1. And then this is how we deploy it every time that Treasure makes a new version, because Treasure builds the website out. It's a simple. He uses what's that tool called? It's a Go container that he builds, and he does all his build out. So this is all of it here. This is how he runs everything. He also builds all the certificates, so members that want to be displayed on the front page can be, and this is what their certificate looks like, right? And then they can put this on they can put this specifically. Well, if we did on Prolog, that wouldn't work on a resume. Well, I guess it would, but this is the way you would want to do it. You could put this on a resume, and then somebody could go see that you went and did your certificate with us, which people have been asking about it. We only give those certificates out when you do the course with the group. So you have to do like the whole group with everybody. So There's Trevor. He's one of the guys. And they had to want to be on the page or they wouldn't be on there. They had to opt in on that. So we didn't opt anybody in. And then this one's funny because this one looks like I wanted to pat myself on the back really hard. But all of mine are like the instructor. But again, this was built by Treasure in our Discord. So anyways, the point is the question was what was I talking about? When you hit our web server, you're not actually hitting my home. You're hitting the AWS CloudFront in front of it. And then from there, that is caching data that comes off of our web page internally. So that's what that was. So it passes through requests to see information that has to be queried. But generally speaking, it just reaches down and grabs the page and then keeps a cached version of it on CloudFront on port 80, because otherwise people wouldn't be able to connect in. You'd have to put in a port, and nobody's going to put a port in on their web browser, right? That would be silly. Right. So, well, I mean, when you're testing, I guess you will, but you're not going to do that normally. So, all right. What else do we have here? We've got our monitoring. Our monitoring looks good. I was going to hop in there and look at why some of these are kind of high on memory usage. Some of these boxes probably need to be checked out a little bit. And we could do that stuff here in a little bit if we wanted to. We can look at logs. Here's all the logs in the last 6 hours of people trying to get in. That's a few thousand. Right, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good amount. We've got our syllabus. We were talking about the different courses. Again, the courses are all free. You can always use the course material. You can always do the stuff. It's just if you want the cool little certs, you got to do it with the group. And the reason for that, it's probably like something that most people don't. Probably most people don't even agree with it. But from an academic standpoint, I think that you should be able to talk with others. There's a certain value and camaraderie to working with something, working through something with other people. There's also the idea that if you you look at something and you're trying to learn it and other people are learning it as well, and then you're doing discussions about it, you're seeing other people's perspectives and you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting, or you see things that you don't agree with and you can challenge them. And in an academic setting, argumentation is very important, right? We should be able to we should be able to argue our points and be able to have the best idea come forward. And it's not, by the way, even saying that some people are wrong about things. Sometimes people just come to the wrong conclusion or a different way that you see to get somewhere. And sometimes when your argumentation is actually an agreement, right? You're kind of going the same path, but you're just kind of bouncing off other things. I think there's a lot of use to that. Well, most colleges do too, because that's what college is you get a bunch of people together trying to learn a subject and they bounce their ideas off each other, right? So, anyways, that's the same thing that we run in the course. So, when you're like, why does Scott only have those certificates for people that actually do the course with them? Well, it's because I think there's a lot of value in going through something with people. Also, a lot of people in the Discord, they've met, they've got good friends. People have met up and seen, they've met other people in the industry. They've talked to. We've had hundreds of people now over the years get jobs from people that they met through Discord. So that's kind of cool. With the professional Linux users group. So that's useful. I think that's a thing. I think this stuff can change the trajectory of your career, right? So, all right, where are we at? Well, man, I've been talking for over 2 hours. Let's go to let's do a break here. Take a break here. I'll leave on streaming, but I'll turn off my camera for a second, and I'll put on my little hourglass. Let's say, take a break. And we'll do 8 minutes. 8-minute break. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be back. I'm going to wander around a little bit, get some water, stretch my legs. Alright guys, let's take another minute. A few minutes. I might have to go hang out with my brother. We might go grab some dinner. There's a little sandwich spot by me that's pretty good. And all right. Let me move this down to the bottom. Actually, I'll leave it up at the top here. But I'm still on break. But I'll turn my camera back on here. While we're on break and hanging out, let's look at some of these other things I made. Well, obviously this has always been around. This one is hilarious to me. But I need to turn off my Twitch alert box for this one. No, not the alert box. What the hell is that thing? Chat. We need to turn off the chat for this one. This one's funny to me. This one's also pretty funny to me. This one looks more like I'm studying. Or that I'm yelling at you guys like crazy. Which I also find hilarious. And then I made this one the other day. I think this one's kind of fun. This is like just if I'm just hanging out here talking with you guys or whatever. But what I do need to do on this one is add in I need to add in my little timer if I'm going to use that one. Got a couple other ones. Those are the main ones though. I'll go sit back over here for a bit. But I do think I have to get off of here because brother wants to go eat. So what I'll probably do, guys, I'm gonna hop back on because the wife is out at the scrapbook retreat for the night, and then she won't be back till tomorrow night, so I'll probably just hop back on here. When I do come back on, it'll probably be well, I mean, I guess I'm about to say something that I think is hilarious. If it could be any more boring than this, I'm probably just going to be reading research. How am I making those? What do you want to know? These right here, Atavirk? You want these little guys? These guys are super easy to make. So what you use, it might get messy if I pull my stuff over, but I guess I could show it to you. But it'll kind of go like screen on screen if I do this. But let's see, it'll get a little weird here. But what happens is you need. Do you see how he's got a closed mouth and then an open mouth, right? Well, the way that happens is actually by a filter on my microphone. So if I go to my microphone here and I right click and I look at my filters, there's a filter that you can do. So this one's called Audio Move Open. And you look at source visibility as your action. And then the scene is whatever scene you're in. And then the source is like Tux Study Open. And it's going to enable when it goes over a certain threshold and turn back off when it goes under a threshold. Let me get rid of this real quick. Hold on. So I can move this out of the way. So when my filter goes over, he pops up. But then when my filter goes back under, it pops back down. So, yeah, so that's what's happening is he's raising his hand when the microphone is higher than a certain threshold, and then you just got to play with your thresholds here. So that's how I do that. So if you're wondering, and then streaming avatars the same way down here. And then this is an image. and then this is an image, but the image is only visible while I'm talking. See how I'm talking? So he's up, down, down, up, down, right? So that's how I do it. It's super easy to do. You can find with those, you can figure out how to do that on. There's YouTube videos on. Basically, people call them like GIF avatars, or for me, I just search for how to implement a 2 image. So it's just 2 images that I made, and then you just do one's always open, or one is always visible rather, and that's the closed version. So if I'm just sitting here reading, but when I'm talking, it looks like I'm yelling at you, and he turns on. Yeah. So the other stuff that I do, I do everything through my laptop. The other one that I do, if I go to like my just chatting, I built this inside of Adobe, I don't know, like Adobe After Effects. And Prolog is just our professional Linux users group. So this just pops up, like this. And then, I can go back over to my streaming one here. I have like a few different filters that I apply. Yeah, the Prolog animation was just put on. I just put this together in like Adobe After Effects, I think. So if you guys have never seen that, you just... Oh, that's the wrong tool. You get out of there. That's a different tool from earlier. So Adobe After Effects is like this. So if you got like a little, Creative Cloud desktop. This is something, for me, this is... so I'm a college professor, right? Some of you guys know that. I'm also a college student, which is funny. I'm what they call a doctoral candidate. Once you get all but dissertation, then you're a doctoral candidate. But yeah, this was in Adobe Express. So I only spend $20 a month for this. This tool is normally, Creative Cloud I think is like $60 a month. So it's kind of pricey. Like you got to be an animator, or you got to be like an artist. I'm not an artist, guys. I'm just a guy who likes to mess around with stuff. And I get this for $20 a month because if you're either a college student or you have to have a college email, right? So I have quite a few college emails from both teaching and being a student. But this is where I go and I mess around with stuff and figure stuff out, right? I don't really know how to do much in there, but I've only had it for like a few months. And I have like 4,000 of these like little AI credits that I can like make stuff with. Oh, I've made some really dumb shit, but it's just kind of funny to me that I can... because, guys, I've been looking for like 5 years as streaming now and trying to find somebody to do art for me, and nobody does art, so... Or nobody does art for me, so... I've got... Actually, so the person that does do art for me is the same one that does our website, but like he's busy a lot of times, so... the guy who does this, he does some art for me, but I don't have like a regular artist, so I'm always like in streams looking for artists and stuff, and then it's like everybody's always busy or whatever, so I don't know, I just end up doing the crap myself. Oh, I mean, I guess it's good enough. But yeah, the tool I use for streaming is OBS, the free version, so I could switch this over. I could switch this whole thing to Linux if we needed to, but how we get into the system is less interesting to me than what we do in the system, right? So I often tell people, like, as a professional, I can use a Mac. I don't even use Mac, but I could use a Mac to get into a terminal to do Linux, and I can do Linux from my phone. Like when I travel around, I'll hop into my systems from the phone, All right. Oh yeah, my brother's saying that I'll drive, he'll buy. Okay, so that means I gotta go. Let me drop here. Oh, I got a new end of stream. This is my little end of stream. Thanks for watching thing. I also have this one. This is my original way, but I definitely appreciate everybody coming. Let's see if anybody I know is online for Twitch. But you guys over on YouTube, thanks for sticking around. You guys should always hop down in the Discord and hang out.